Hi guys, Candy here with Consider Hope Services. I am a licensed professional counselor. Today we're going to talk about some regulatory skills that we commonly need whenever we are initiating or coming into therapy, especially if we have a trauma focused and are going to be working with some trauma. One of the first things that shows up in a person's life that indicates they might be seeking counseling or want to get some support is that they become emotionally uh, overwhelmed and physically dysregulated. So they experience really big emotions that feel pretty overwhelming. And they also experience a lot of physical symptoms that are indications of our nervous system being dysregulated. But that looks like, my sleep is bad or I'm having nightmares. I'm experiencing hypervigilance, like I'm startling when somebody says something or sneaks up on me, feels like they sneak up on me, but really they just happen to be there and I didn't know it. Things like this that are in our physical body, we start feeling, but also it usually comes with a lot of emotional overwhelm too. So it can be really disrupting and pretty distressing to a person who's experiencing some of these symptoms. Working with trauma, one of the first things we do is to focus on what it looks like to regulate those emotional, overwhelming moments and the physical symptoms in the physical body, regulating the nervous system. So, this means the way we regulate is that we have to calm the body, the actual physical body. We have to calm down the nervous system. Part of the problem with that, though, is that we often don't have a good felt experience of what calm in the body actually feels like, right? So, one, we need practice, but two, sometimes we need a little instruction on experiencing the calm in the physical body so that we can kind of know what that feels like. It takes a real felt experience, and I mean, as in, I'm learning experientially in my own body to know what calm or relaxed actually feels like. So that means that we need practice, but it's gonna be a method of where we're kind of training the brain to learn, right? It's a learning process. That way it creates a knowing for myself in my body that I can have this placeholder, like I know where I'm going with this exercise. So, like when I am physically overwhelmed, if I have had the felt experience of what real relaxation feels like in my physical body, that's kind of this placeholder that it's kind of where I'm going. It's my destination for these processes. How do I get there? Right? But the first thing we have to learn is what there is. What is it? How does it feel in my physical body to have calm nervous system, relaxed physical body, right? So we need practice, and that's why we need that practice. Because then when we reach that place of calm, what happens is the emotional overwhelm stops, it's calmed down, basically. The physical symptoms are calmed, we're in a relaxed state. And then what we call, my thinking brain is able to come online, and then I am able to experience clear thinking. I'm able to make decisions. I'm able to figure out how to navigate whatever it is that's in front of me. So now I can know confidently how I want to respond to someone. What do I want to say? What do I need to do to take care of myself? Or just the clarity of decision making in these situations. So that's our goal. And it takes a little practice. We have to practice this while we are not upset in order to train the brain so that when we are upset, we can implement these skills. So there are a variety of techniques. There are probably endless varieties actually on some of these, but the basics that we want to focus on in this video is how to arrive at that regulated state. And we're going to look at two or three different methods to do that. The first one, and this is the primary one, and sometimes it's the only one that I can actually access when I am upset, is to breathe using my breath in the body in order to implement some calming. However, I do like to specify when it comes to trauma, one of the things we want to do is we never want to practice anything that mimics a trauma response or that looks like what we naturally do when our overwhelm spikes up because of our trauma. So, with that in mind, I would like to just offer that we don't ever want to do breathing exercises where we hold our breath because that mimics a trauma response. Whenever we experience shock or overwhelm, what do? Or we hold our breath, right? We suck in, we hold it, and we get stuck right there. So we don't want to implement and practice breath holding as part of our breathing practice. We also want to keep it really simple. So I like to train people that it doesn't matter whether or not you breathe out of your nose or your mouth. There's some science out there that indicates maybe a little something is different happening neurologically or chemically when you breathe in your nose or breathe out your mouth. But for our purposes, it really doesn't matter. That's not what we're doing. That's not what we're trying to aim for. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to think about that. Fine, breathe out of your mouth, breathe out of your nose, whichever you prefer. It doesn't matter. The second thing I like to remove off as an obstacle or take off the table is the idea that you need to count for your breaths. While there is obviously a reason for doing a counted breath, that reason is to control the breathing. So, in other words, it's taking your thinking brain and applying it to your breath in order to control your breath work purposefully. Usually, you will see this come up when people talk about mindfulness, which is like a really sharp focus on something. I don't use mindfulness really in that way in my trauma work. And so we don't need to focus on any particular thing and then control the breath in order to focus. That's not what we're doing. All we are doing is breathing, right? And I also like to just take all of the complication out of it. So, what I teach people is what I call continuous breathing or wave like breathing. So here's how you do it. The first thing that we're going to do is just notice that I'm breathing. I'm going to breathe now, right? So I'm going to start and just breathe in and out. And as I continue to do that, what will happen naturally is that the only thing I need to pay attention to is the fact that I'm breathing in now or I'm breathing out now. As I take a couple of breaths, I'm going to start being able to really notice my breathing. Once I start noticing my breathing, then I can kind of take control and say, I want to breathe until my lungs are full. And let it out. And I want to breathe out until my lungs feel empty. And then let them suck back air again. The only requirement that I have here is that I'm just noticing when my lungs feel full or when they feel empty. And I'm letting my body do what it does naturally. When my lungs feel full, I let it breathe out, release it. When my lungs feel empty, I allow my muscles to move and to suck air back in. That's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to notice my breath in, my breath out. You see the wave in and out. No counting, doesn't matter, nose, mouth. Just breathe. We're going to want to wave, breathe like this for a couple of breaths. It's going to take 3 or 4 breaths before you even kind of begin to feel focused at all on the breath. That's normal. Just keep going. Once you've had 5 or 6 just kind of in or out breaths, you're probably going to feel a little bit more in your body and kind of grounded a little bit and really noticing. You might start picking up on like, oh, maybe it kind of hurts a little bit when my chest is expanded out that far. Or maybe I feel a little wheezy, or maybe I've got a windy sound in my windpipe as I'm breathing in and out. You're just going to start noticing things around your physical body and your breath. That's a really good sign because that means you're becoming present and it's working. We are beginning to regulate the nervous system. So once you notice that you're breathing and you're kind of paying attention to the things around your breath, we're just going to keep breathing. Same thing. We're not changing anything. Just in, out, in, and out as it's comfortable. The thing about regulating our breath with this way is that we have to do it long enough. Many of us kind of think, well, I tried. I breathed in slowly, really focused 3 or 4 times, and it made no difference whatsoever. And that makes sense because it just takes a little bit of time. So we want to keep breathing in and out until what I'm looking for is a shift in my physical body of some sort. For most of us, that's going to feel like some sort of desire or movement, probably around the neck or shoulders, maybe our hands or arms. I see a lot of people just tend to kind of make a movement with their shoulders this way. That means that you are working your breath, you have slowed your breath down enough that it is signaling the brain. We're using the vagus nerve to signal up to the brain that everything down here is fine. We're telling the brain, we're breathing slow and regular. There's nothing happening exciting down here, so why don't you calm down? And this will unlock basically any of the kind of full system protocol that happens with fight or flight or freezing. It kind of communicates to the brain to let go of those forces or functions and let me relax. The shifting in the body is the first indicator that the breath work is working to relax and to release the tension of any type of dysregulation that I've had. That's step 1 to regulating. Breathing, noticing until I feel some sort of shift in my body. You can, for the most part, rely on that shift as an indicator that now I can continue to breathe for as long as I'm able, or that I have time for, or that the circumstances allow me, right? So if I'm in a meeting with someone, I can't sit and, take an hour out to go calm myself. I might need to just sit and breathe and focus on my breathing until I notice kind of my shoulders moving a bit. Maybe I take a few more breaths and then I can kind of sit and go, okay, I think it's working. I should be experiencing a little bit more focus and clarity mentally so that now I can engage in whatever is going on around me in a way that I want to. Now, that might mean that I'm engaging it enough to go, I need to remove myself from this situation, right? That may be what the clarity brings for you, and that's fine. I would encourage you to do so. Excuse me, I just need a minute. Get up, remove ourselves. Whatever that looks like, taking a break or next step. Maybe we're going to need a next step to get really good regulation in. But breathing can help get us over that first initial hump so that we can actually have some clarity about, okay, what do I do next? I'm back in my body. I'm present in the situation. I'm recognizing that, okay, wow, I got overwhelmed right there, but I'm okay now. What do I need next? Okay, so that's continuous breathing. Number 2 skill for emotional regulation. This one, it's a little more, you'll need to play with it when it comes to physical regulation, but for emotional and mental distress, this one can actually work to get over initial humps that feel really big. As a trauma counselor, I use this one very frequently. So working with folks who have been through some really traumatic things, sometimes someone will be sharing something or say something that just my brain naturally creates a picture of that distress, whatever that might be. And I don't want to keep those pictures. I don't want to keep that in my mind because that would build up my own exposure to trauma. So it's important to do something with that. So I use this skill regularly. And I would encourage you to also play around with it and use it as well. YouTube has a ton of videos about this. It's called Container. So if you want to actually be led through kind of a visualization where you create the container that you're going to use, you're welcome to do that. And maybe that will be enjoyable. That can also help bring the relaxation to help focus on actually doing the containment exercise. But I find that this version, my really short version, works just as well. It's what I use. I don't get really elaborate visually with my container when I'm using it in a session or when I get exposed to a trauma. So I think you'll be able to just use it in whatever way works for you. The idea basically is to take whatever the emotional or physical or relational overwhelm, whatever the distress is in this moment, really doesn't matter what it is. If you can picture it in your mind's eye as a thing, right? So maybe it's anger, maybe it's fear, maybe it's my heart rate is through the roof right now. Whatever that looks like, what we're going to do is we're going to contain it. This is an emotional regulation skill. We want to contain it. This trains the brain that we can do something with these overwhelming moments. So we're not ignoring it. We're not avoiding it. We are engaging with the material, whatever it is, that distress, that image, that feeling, the physical sensation, whatever it is that is up front and center right now, I am going to engage it, but I'm going to engage it in a containing manner. So to do that, I want to take it, and I'll use an image, for example, because those are what I often get. You can replace image with the sensation I have. My heart rate's through the roof. For me, sometimes my heart rate will feel like it's thumping, like there's big volume pumping, even if it doesn't feel like it's beating really fast. That's a symptom for me that I might get. So I might take that sensation as a kind of as a picture. Whatever it is, image, emotion, sensation, we're going to, first of all, step one, shrink it down. So I just want to shrink, 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 shrink. Okay. Now, if shrinking it feels difficult, I could also imagine that I'm pushing it away from me, or I'm pushing my chair away from it. I'm creating some distance, which visually would cause it to get smaller, right? So you can zoom out away from the thing, whatever it is. Either way, we want to visually in our mind's eye cause it to become physically smaller. See it as physically smaller. Shrink, shrink, shrink. It could be crumpling like a piece of paper. It could be a vice grip coming in and shrinking it this way. Whatever works for you. But I want you to keep shrinking it until you get it to about, I don't know, like the size of a postage stamp or a large marble, right? So it's something that not even big enough to hold in your hand. You'd have to like hold it with a couple of fingers. That's how small we make it. Shrink, 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 all the way down. Step two is to simply take this shrunken thing, this material that we have now shrunk down, and we're going to one side of us or the other, we're going to imagine opening a container, putting it in and closing the container. Slide the container behind me. So my personal container, for some reason, is always here on my right side, and it sort of lives behind my chair. This is an important part of the visualization in that we are continuing to create a little distance and some separation from the distress. So container exercise is to shrink it down small enough, open your container, put it in, contain it. Now take your container and set it aside wherever you'd like. It's not uncommon for this to be a difficult skill. So again, just like with the breathing, you might need to contain it a couple of times. You might need to practice shrinking it down a couple of times. You might need to repeat it in that immediate term, in those couple of minutes. I have found usually if it's something quite distressing or maybe my focus is a little off, I might have to contain it 3 times. I might have to go, nope, shrink, 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 put it back. Oh, okay, shrink, 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 put it back. Shrink, 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 put it back. Scooch it away. Leave it there. Leave it there. That's what I'll tell my brain. Keep it there. Don't come out. Don't come out. Right? So whatever you need to say in your mind's eye, whatever it needs to look like, but the idea is to shrink it down, contain it inside something. That's how we engage that distress. Now, when it comes to, well, what do I do with that stuff? If there's anything in your container that's important to be looked at another time, um, you will remember it at the time you need to. For example, if you're going to sit down and journal and you want to open that back up and just have time to process what happened for you, if you're going to talk with someone about it, your counselor, or whatever that might look like, that would be the appropriate time to do that. But often we find that those things are these dysregulated states that we are containing with whatever images and physical sensations that come with them. A lot of times they are just evidence of our symptomology, right? They're just events that happen in our nervous system. We don't have to always give them a lot of weight. So I might not need to ever go open this stuff out of my container. It might just not be important. It's just something that sort of happened with my nervous system. It popped, an image popped in, a distress came, my emotion got really big for a minute, but I contained it and I move on. And that may be all I need to do. Okay, the last skill. So we've done some breathing. This helps regulate. We've done container, which can also help regulate. I will add just real quickly on the container that if you are a spiritual person, if you are a Christian believer, that you can ask God to help you contain something if it's feeling pretty big or difficult to shrink. You can also ask God to help you keep it there. And I do that frequently with God. I ask Him to help me if I'm having a hard time containing something. Okay, finally, the last one is what we call a grounding exercise. So sometimes the overwhelm that we're experiencing, so in my trauma work, a lot of times I have sort of kind of thought, I think most people experience what we would call more the panic side, the fight or flight type responses. However, the more trauma work that I do, the more people that I see and talk to, and the reading that I do and research, I would really say it's actually kind of 50-50, and that a person who experiences panic attacks may also be experiencing the opposite end of the neurological spectrum, which is the freeze state, which is kind of what we consider a collapse or it's a hypoarousal. It's falling out of my window of tolerance instead of shooting up out of the top with panic type symptoms. Instead, I might get freeze type symptoms where my body goes heavy or numb, or I sort of mentally, emotionally feel kind of checked out a little bit. I might have lapses in memory where I really don't remember things that happened when I was upset. Not the video for this to talk about that a whole lot, but this next exercise, when it comes to numbing states and feeling kind of checked out or the arousal is too low, your system seems like it's collapsed and frozen, what we want to do in those cases is bring some warmth to the nervous system. And I mean warmth as in movement, like a little, we want to get some flow to it. So we want to thaw out that frozen state and get a little bit of movement. So this next exercise, grounding, allows us to, what we call grounding. When I say the word grounding, what I mean is simply becoming really present in the present moment. So I'm not ruminating about the past. I'm not remembering. I'm not anxious about the future and kind of sped up and worrying about things in the future. Instead, my focus is really on this present moment. That can be really hard to do when we leave our window of tolerance. So when we're in a panic state, we're rushing off to the future and trying to take care of that. When we're in a frozen state, we tend to be more in the ruminatory, where we are kind of collapsing and just shutting off things towards the past. So we want to bring our focus to the present moment, because for most of us, most of the time, where we are in this physical present moment is perfectly safe. It might be challenging, but I'm not physically unsafe most of the time. And we want to be able to tap into that reality for our nervous system. We want to teach our nervous system how to access present state, which is actually calm uh, and probably quite safe, even though I'm remembering something or a time when I wasn't, or even though I'm feeling anxious about something that's coming up or whatever. So grounding, when I say grounding, that's what I mean, is becoming really present. The best way to become really present, and this can work when you're panicky, but probably not until you've done some breathing. So sometimes you've got to get a little physical regulation on board first. So breathing or containing and then breathing, something that helps you kind of slow the body down a little bit. And then we can become present. So with hypoarousal, though, we need to warm up and get a little movement. So we want to kind of draw ourselves into the present moment instead of getting a little bit lost, right? So to get present, we're going to do just a grounding that says it's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which means I'm going to use my sensory system, my body. So again, I'm coming into my body. I'm getting aware of my physical body, becoming present to what's happening in my body right now. So my body serves as an anchor. It's a place because my body's in the present. My body is actually safe if I look around, right this second. So I can utilize that as an anchor, whether I am panicked or whether I am hypoaroused and frozen. I can try to come back into my body, my anchor. So to do that, we're going to notice 5 things in the room that we can see with our eyes. And we're going to verbally say them out loud, not just in our head. So we want to use our tongue, our mouth, our muscles, our eyeballs. We want to look around and say, I see the picture, my phone, the piece of paper I'm reading from, the drink that I'm drinking, the can. I can even be specific about the color or the texture. It's an aluminum, pink aluminum can. And I can see my mouse pad here on my desk. Those are 5 things. So what we can see, 4 things that I can hear. I hear the fan in the environment. I hear a click where the fan just turned off or changed. I can actually hear my own voice as I'm talking. And I'm kind of been annoyed by the squeak in my chair. Okay, so I can hear that too. That's 4 things. 3 things that I can touch. So physically, my body is taking in all kinds of sensory information all the time. So I want to tap into that. What is my body physically touching? You can touch something if you'd like. My soft sweatshirt, it's warm. I can think about the chair that I'm sitting in is holding me up. So I can touch that. I can put my hands down and actually feel the texture of the chair, or maybe the backrest against my back. But I can also reach out and touch stuff, paper, desk, whatever it happens to be. Name 3 things that we can touch. The last two is 2 things that we can smell and 1 thing that we can taste. Now, most of us are not walking around with like food and drink necessarily in your hands to be able to smell something or taste something, but you're going to see now that I'm able to kind of go, oh, okay, if I smell, I could probably identify kind of what is the sense of smell that I'm having right now. What's something I kind of smell in the air? The air has smell, right? Or what's the taste on my tongue? It may not be good, but that's okay. The point is that we are connecting and anchoring back into our body through doing this. Usually the first, like naming 5 things, naming 4 things I can hear, usually it's the about halfway through when we get to the what I can touch. That's usually the point at which we start to experience like, okay, I'm actually coming back into my body now. I'm getting anchored in my body, which means I'm in this present moment. So that's the important part of that, is getting to that place. You could also do grounding very simply by feeling your feet on the floor. What is the weight of the floor? Like the floor is actually supporting my legs as I sit here. What's that feel like at the bottom of my feet? Or what do I notice that I'm feeling on the backs of my legs as my legs are supported? My weight is supported. With numbing also, we might feel like our arms are heavy. So you can just lift your arms up in the air and hold them there for a couple of seconds. Just kind of go, okay, this is what it feels like to hold my arms up in the air. Okay, and then set them back down and notice the difference in how they feel up here versus their weight being rested on your legs or on the arms of the chair. If you are collapsed, you might notice that before I did this, my arms were quite heavy. They felt very supported but heavy. But after I lift them up, I become more aware. I'm in my body a little more. And then I set them back down. They don't feel as heavy, even though they're being supported in the same way. So these are some regulatory calming skills. These will help with when we are emotionally overwhelmed, when emotions get really big and we feel a bit out of control. The reason why we feel out of control with emotional overwhelm is because our physical body is responding and it can feel like it's kind of gotten away from us. So what do I want to do? I want to regulate, calm, regulatory space into my body. I want to reach that state. It's a nervous system state, a neurological state that I want to get to. The important part is that I practice these when I am calm already so that I can build experience. I create this placeholder in my learning and in my system, my body. I know what it feels like to be grounded and present. Once I have that through my practice, I can now implement it when I need it. So practice it several times a day. Piggyback this onto something you're already doing. Brush my teeth. I stand there in the bathroom. Just stay there after you brush your teeth and do some continuous breathing or contain something that bothered you today. Whatever it takes, just start practicing and see what happens. See what you notice changes in your body. That's going to be how you move into a regulation ability and skill that lets you then start to navigate and to reach those places of having some clarity, feeling like you can make decisions and that you can respond to the moment in a way that's best for you. Okay, I hope this helps.